Welcome back, everybody. It is about 5:20 in the evening, and the day is January the 7th, 2024. Woohoo! New guitar day. This was ordered in the final days of 2024, so it goes in the record book as being a 2024 guitar. And yeah, this came all the way from California. It was supposed to be delivered yesterday, and good old FedEx, my best buddy in the delivery business, at 5:30 last night, sends me a notification saying, due to extreme weather conditions, your delivery has been delayed. And of course I walked outside, and it was cold, but it's always cold up here this time of year. There were no weather conditions at all. It was, it was a scam. So I talked to the driver today, and he basically said the computer senses how many deliveries are left, and if it feels like he can't make them within the time limit that he's working, it just hits the emergency weather button. So I thought that was pretty funny. Because, I've got a window. I can look out the window. There was no weather emergency. So, today's guitar is a bit unusual. I've never gotten one of these before, and they're fairly controversial in the guitar land. And I understand everyone's position, truly I do. But my feeling is, I know what it is, and I'm certainly never going to pawn it off on someone as being something that it's not. And I watched an interesting video today by a guy, and according to him, these companies actually go out of their way to do things differently to identify them as being a replica. So that's what this is. These are fondly known in the guitar world as a Chibson. As he also pointed out too, they don't sell it with any indication that it's a Gibson. And I'll show you the secrets to their success. Which again, if you look at most of these online, they don't show you the headstock. So they leave it as a total mystery as to what's going to be underneath. And you can smell the paint on this thing. I have no idea if it's poly or... But anyways, what this is an SG Junior. And I was attracted to it for a couple reasons. First of all, the color appealed to me. I'm just going to do a perfunctory. The frettings feel delightful, which is always a pleasant surprise. I think they use the same serial number for all of these. I'm going to look and see, but I think they're all made in 2017. You can see it's got some buff marks on it, and it's actually, it's not heavy by any stretch of the imagination, but it's got some heft to it. It's very pretty looking. Interesting. There's no screws in the dog ear. And it does have the top hat knobs, which is interesting because another fellow got one, and this did not have that. And see, I think the carve on this is different than a traditional SG. But I don't know, I've only owned one SG and it was an Epiphone, but the bottom is just completely flat. But nice looking, and immediate inspection, and we've done inspections before and come back. I would say this is very close to approximating a TV yellow. It's not a bright in your face yellow by any stretch of the imagination. Let's look at the action. is reasonable, and there's still a bit of room to adjust. I'd say the action's a little high, so it may need a truss rod adjustment. Now, according to legend, when you peel this off, it says Chibson underneath here. I'm not going to do that immediately. It's funny, too, because they put a sticker here covering Made in USA, and obviously this is not made in the USA. So yeah, I'm going to go tune it up, plug it in. It's cold, not frozen cold. I've pulled guitars out that were much colder. It does have a multi-ply pickguard, which you can't see in the pictures. It looked like it was just black. And it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws, which some people would say, I don't know what that is. That string's probably going to break in about 2 seconds. So yeah, I'm just going to go plug it in and just see. But that is curious. There's no screws holding the dog ear on, so did they just glue it in? I don't know. There's a bit of a futz, which I'm sure, yeah, you got to have one futz. There's a bit of a futz on the neck. I'm sure a little bit of sandpaper will deal with that. So I'm just going to go see if it works. So I'll be back. Okay, we're back. So I plugged it in, played 2 songs just to see if it works, and it works. It's going to need a little bit of dialing in. I have another guitar with a wraparound tailpiece, a Les Paul Special 1 P90, and it was pretty easy to dial it in. You basically just work off the intonation on the low E and the high E, and everything else hopefully falls into place. So I have a feeling that that will work out fine. It's also possible that the factory strings on this don't intonate as well as they should, and I should not be cheap and just put some new strings on it. Everything about the fit and the finish and the build on initial inspection, I was hoping for something as good as my Les Paul Special 1, which in its day was a $100 guitar. They're now up to between $150 and $200. This cost $179 shipped. The only other SG Junior that's available right now, I don't know who the guy is, it's a signature model. It's white, and I don't really care for a white guitar, and it's $600. It comes with a hard shell case, so knock $150 off for that, and you're still talking $450. So price-wise, this certainly takes care of the bill. You know, as to be expected with a guitar like this, I have no idea what the fretboard's made of. It feels good. The frets feel, you know, not highly polished, but they're not scratchy at all. Again, the fret ends are just delightful, and I can tell you that I've bought a few of Epiphone guitars in this price range, and the fret ends were absolutely shredders, cheese graters. So that's good. The tuners seem to work absolutely fine. There was one little, I don't know what you would call it, on the back of the neck that I have to just, you know, take some light sandpaper to. That's not an issue, again, in the price. So overall, I feel satisfied. The action's a little high, and there's not a lot of room to work with on the bridge. So I haven't measured the relief on the neck. It might need to just be tilted a little bit. It's a set neck, so there's nothing you can do. There's no shimming on a guitar like this. And as expected, a P90 in the bridge position is can be a bit harsh. But again, I'm running it through amp settings for humbuckers and stuff. So again, maybe some working with the amp. One interesting thing is, though, is the guy at the factory, I don't know how well the camera shows, but they neglected to put screws in on the dog ear, and they didn't even drill holes. So I don't know how that cover's sitting on there. If someone just slapped some glue on it, for the time being, it's fine. It's not going to hurt anything, but I'm certainly going to ask them what's up with that. I'm sure I'm more than capable of getting a drill and drilling a couple holes and popping a couple screws in there, but it just sort of makes you wonder what the factory guy was up to. Again, the finish is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but in this price range, I am actually quite pleased, because it's an odd guitar. From what I understand, Gibson's no longer making an SG Junior, and again, as far as I know, Epiphone only has that one signature model. So I was looking for something odd, something a little different, and this seems to fit the bill. So I will be back in a day, a 2, 3, 4. I've got 3 other guitars coming tomorrow. I went on sort of a spree at the end of the year because they were just blowing guitars out. This was by far the most expensive. The other 3 guitars were $61, $68, and $75, all budget. 2 Donners and another Fesley. So this was the expensive purchase, but hey, at $180, you know, I mean, again, it's well within the realm of a budget guitar. So, like I said, I'll be back in a few days. Potentially, I'm going to put some new strings on it. I'm going to contact the manufacturer and ask them about what's up with no screws in the pickup cover. It feels like it's attached. So I guess if I just don't bang on it too hard, it should be okay. Again, just the nut seems to be cut really well, which again, you know, it's sort of a harsh judgment, especially with budget guitars. But if you can play it right out of the box, that's pretty impressive. And this one's playable right out of the box. Again, the nut seems to be cut good. The intonation's acceptable for the moment. Hard to tell because the strings do play a part in your ability to intonate. The tuners work fine. The potentiometers feel good. The output jack is really firm and nice. You plug it in and you feel the chord. That's not all guitars in this price range, and even more expensive work out that way. So anyways, as I often do, it is January the 7th, 2024. It's in the evening, and again, I will be back with more thoughts. So till then. Welcome back, everybody. Yes, it has been a week, and here's the final wrap-up review on this and a few other guitars. It's sort of going to be like a speed dating version, because I don't really have much to add. So as you know from the beginning of this video, a week ago and a day, I got this guitar. This is my first and more than likely my last, affectionately known as a Chibson guitar. In my defense, for all the purists out there who don't like counterfeits, when I bought this guitar, the seller did not show any pictures of the headstock. And I didn't really know much about Chibsons. What I knew was that this was a replica of a Gibson SG Junior, which is what I was looking for, and I liked the color. The color was sort of offbeat. Again, the camera is showing it to be a bit whiter. That's about what it looks like right there. It's definitely a creamy yellow, and that's what appealed to me. Just wanted a simple basic guitar, 1 pickup, 2 controls, output jack, simple, easy peasy. So, and the price was reasonable, and I figured if the quality was equal to my Epiphone Special 1 P90, which at the time I bought it was $100. This was about twice that, but again, this was 5, 6, 7 years ago, so the price has gone up. So again, I had no expectation for a simulated Gibson. I didn't know what the headstock would look like. I didn't care. They didn't reveal what the name on the headstock was going to be, so I just went for it. And it turned out that it in fact is, I guess you could call it a tribute, a replica, a counterfeit guitar. Now you'll notice I still have the sticker here, so theoretically I don't know what it says under there, but I do because another fellow on a Facebook page, the Budget Guitar Universe, bought one of these at the exact same time that I did, and he peeled his sticker off, and sure enough it says Gibson on it. On the back it also has a serial number, and there's another sticker covering what I can only assume says Made in the USA. But look, let's be honest here. If you knew anything about Gibson guitars and someone was trying to foist this off on you as being a Made in USA Gibson, bad on you, because there's more than a few red flags on this guitar. That being said, and staying with the point of being brief on this guitar, I like it. It has some nice qualities about it. The fretwork, the fret edges, absolutely flawless. The fret tops were polished. The fingerboard's made out of some mystery composite. I don't think it's rosewood. The tuners work fine. The tone and the volume control are abysmal. The other guy that bought this said that they were full-size pots, but again, full-size pots don't mean jack. They're basically just on and off switches. And this guitar is like heavily treble, again, considering it's a P90 and the pickups push back. But I find if I play up here, I get some decent tone out of it. So overall, it's a nice guitar. It comes in at about, I think, 7.2 pounds. I'm not really sure what real SGs weigh. Usually it looks like they're in the 6-pound realm. But again, I'm pleased with it. I'm not sure I really like SG guitars. It takes a while to get used to them. It feels like the neck is like sticking out into space. The scale length is exactly the same as the Les Paul, but it just feels different. But anyways, quick and fast. So that wraps up this on the affectionately known as the Chibson. Again, technically speaking, for the first 2 years of this model, this body style, these were Les Pauls. And apparently Les Paul stepped in and said, see ya, and then they turned into SGs. So I'm going to affectionately consider this a 1961 Chibson Les Paul Junior, because they abandoned the traditional Les Paul style for the body for the juniors for a couple of years until they changed this to the SG, and then when they brought the Les Pauls back, the Les Paul Junior got the traditional single cutaway. Anyways, that's it for this one.